Welcome to a new series here on the channel as we are going to be diving into a long-term OOTP sim with the Los Angeles Angels. As you can see, we have changed the branding a bit, which we'll get into in a second. First, I obviously need to address what the deal is with this channel, where I've been and whatnot. Basically, it'll be the show over for me. It's over, folks. MLB The Show is just not something that I'm interested in anymore. I don't have fun playing it. I don't have fun editing it if I don't have fun playing it. It's just not in the cards for posting content from that game anymore. So instead, we are going to be keeping baseball on the channel here with some OOTP 25. I'm basically in my old man washed up YouTuber era right now, where we're basically just doing seasonal stuff whenever I feel like it, with just not posting for a while, coming back when baseball season's going on and I feel like posting. I get the itch again. Obviously it's not the greatest thing for viewer retention, but I'm not trying to become a guy with a billion subs here anyways. I'm just posting this stuff for fun. And if it's not fun, then I'm not going to post it, obviously. But OOTP is always a good time, and I've been enjoying this version of OOTP quite a bit. I had a save going with the Kansas City Royals that I was playing in my off time, but I kind of strayed away from that a bit recently because I've been basically torturing myself with Madden. I do have some plans for something I will be posting later on in the summer for those of you who don't really enjoy the text-based, just me being a front office GM in OTP and more enjoy gameplay-based video games. I do have plans for something later on in the summer, which I will get into later on in the summer. But for now, we are going with OTP. So let's just dive into it. As you can see, we are the Los Angeles Angels with a bit of a rebrand. As we go to the team settings here, we're keeping the Los Angeles Angels name because I just don't really feel like changing that. It's fine. Having Los Angeles has a certain gravitas to it. We're rocking with it. We're keeping this weird branding they have anyways where they're not in Los Angeles. We all know what the deal is. But we do have some new uniforms and logos. And by new, I mean old. So the California Angels logo from the 80s is what we will be rocking with. I just think it's by far their best scheme. The all red does not do it for me. So we're rocking here the home with the pullovers and the great 80s. I don't know how you would describe these belt part of it, the waist, whatever you would describe. I don't know the actual term to describe the striped, the piping along the waist is what we're rocking with here for the homes. And then on the aways, it's the same thing, but gray. And then also, we have a Friday and Sunday at home alternate that we will obviously be wearing at Friday and Sunday home games. And that is one of my underrated Angels favorites. The Mo Vaughn era Angels unis, as I like to call them. Fantastic stuff. That's what we're wearing on Sundays and Fridays. And just to get in a little bit of why I decided to pick the Angels as my team, one, doing the post-Otani Angels is just a fun storyline, seeing if we can try to basically build a team that's actually good and isn't going to underachieve around Mike Trout. Mike Trout is one of my favorite players, not just because he's one of the best players of all time, obviously, but he is from South Jersey. I am from South Jersey. South Jersey guys, it's the whole thing, the Millville Meteor. So basically, these early seasons, we're not going to be full-blown tanking. We're not going to be trading everybody and trying to just get as many prospects as can. We're going to be trying to retool, essentially, and, maybe not the smartest approach if I was to take this from the pure, just no bullshit, see what we can do with min-maxing, essentially, just getting rid of everybody, getting in prospects, and just doing the full 2024 GM experience. But I just think it's going to be a fun challenge to try to actually build a winning team around Mike Trout. And it's basically Operation Get Mike Trout a ring here in the early years of this franchise. Probably not going to happen the first couple of years, but maybe by year 3, 4, we're really starting to compete and possibly compete for a ring. That is the ideal pathway we have going right now. Obviously, the number one thing that we have to get over the hump to trying to accomplish that is the fact that our farm system is just straight trash. This was the big reason why I picked the Angels, aside from the fact that the post-Otani Angels would be a fun storyline, is that their farm system is nothing. Best prospect in here is Kyron Paris, who is like, fine, could be like a decent second baseman sort of guy. Maybe shortstop, doesn't really have the arm for that though. So basically just like a second baseman. But still, you don't want this guy to be your best prospect, essentially. Out of the top 100, 186 for this guy, Nelson Rada, who I know is pretty decent in real life, at least. But, in real life, they are rushing him. I believe they already have him in like double A, and he's really struggling in real life. We will not be doing that. We are going to not be this rush everybody prospect mentality that the real life Angels are doing. And basically, these are the only two guys who are worth really anything. I do have the short list that I always set up here of all the prospects, so you can see them sorted by level. And basically, you can see their potentials here. A lot of these guys are sorted on here as guys that I find interesting from an Angels level. Like, we have Joe Adell on here because he's 24, even though he's not really a prospect anymore. We know what Joe Adell is. He will probably be up in he would definitely be up in the big leagues at some point this season, but he starts the year in AAA with Salt Lake. Angel Felipe, interesting reliever, but he's going to unfortunately miss the entire 2024 campaign with a torn UCL Tommy John surgery. Obviously, very intriguing reliever, extreme ground ball, my favorite type of pitcher to have. Throws very hard. Don't know what he's going to be like post UCL, but we will see when he comes back as a 27-year-old next year. Ben Joyce, another guy who throws the absolute piss out of the ball. Another guy the Angels have rushed to the big leagues, but, decent reliever. Never going to be like the best reliever in the game, but he's an interesting piece. You'll notice a very common theme is there's a lot of guys like this who are like, their ceiling is like, decent. And then there's a lot of guys even on here that their ceiling isn't decent, and they're more so just on here because they're intriguing for the Angels system right now. Like this Orlando Martinez guy who's currently hurt, can play a little defense, maybe like a league average sort of bat, except for the power in the eye. Maybe he gets a boost, maybe he rakes at one level and gets a boost, who knows. He is a little bit older though, but I mean, this is the level of intriguing that we're talking about here with this farm system, just a bunch of nothing. We've got guys like Jordan Adams, who's really never going to be a good bat, but could play a decent center field for us, has some good speed as well. We've got, this guy is on here purely because he's an extreme ground ball pitcher. We've got David Calabrese, another one, maybe like a league average, below league average bat with a decent glove. Who are we talking elsewhere? We got Hans Kraus, former top prospect, no longer a top prospect, extreme fly ball guy. Don't really like that, but once again, just on here because he's interesting for what we have right now. We also have like Sonny DeShara, who, he's on here because, once again, interesting for what we have. Also because I actually know who he is, because I watch college baseball. Went to Auburn, transferred from Samford. Big guy, hits home runs. Not really much else to his game. Obviously going to strike out too much. Highly doubt he's ever a contender or like a legitimate player for us. This guy could be interesting. Decent gap power. Could have a really solid eye. Could be an interesting bench bat, but really nothing besides that. We've got this guy with the cool Polish last name. Extreme ground ball. Literally the only reason he's on this list. Victor Medeiros, ground ball pitcher. Could be like a decent back-end rotation. Multi-inning relief guy. Luke Murphy, another decent relief option possibly. And then just some okay infield guys like Palencia. Vera could be an interesting glove with zero juice in the bat. Then we have Rada, who I talked about. Eric Torres is interesting. He's in high A right now. I don't know why that would be in high A. Is he hurt? No. Why is he in high A? I mean, he did get absolutely shredded in the minors last year. His ratings, definitely better, too good for high A, but I guess we'll leave him in high A, see how he does there, and slowly work his way up. But he's a guy who could be interesting, but extreme fly ball, not the greatest. And then Caden Dana, who is a guy I'm aware of in real life, and he could be mildly interesting, could not be. Obviously has a long way to go to develop. But you get the gist. A lot of just purely nothing in the system, so we need to figure out a way to change that, and we are going to be a bit strapped to that and not really have the greatest budget for it right now, I prefer my budget to usually be about 20 million, sometimes higher for the player development. We only have it down to 15 because I want my draft budget to be plenty enough to be able to possibly get somebody in the draft. As you see here, we have the 8th pick this year, so I would like to be able to have enough money to offer guys if we decide to go a route like that. But then, yeah, so we get the budget of 15 million, not what I usually have it on. The scouting at 13 million, also not what I like to have it on. I don't know if we're going to keep this guy as a scout. I do like the outstanding minors and the legendary amateurs, but I do not like the favorability. I prefer favor tools, heavily favor tools, whichever one. So this guy we're probably going to fire as we take a look at our staff. And that's another thing. I went to salaries. Another thing is our staff. Also, we are Robert Pollard. If you know, you know. Our staff, not the greatest. 71-year-old Ron Washington. Obviously got decent ratings here. Probably has average relationships, not great. Old school manager. Gonna like to steal a lot, hit and run, sack bunts. Not usually how I like to play, but we are gonna roll with him here because he is the real life Angels manager, and it's just a cool storyline again. So we're gonna roll with him at least for season 1 here, see how he does. And I mean, who knows? He's gonna be 72 next year. He might just retire at the end of next year or the end of this year. Who knows? But Ron Washington, our pitching coach, you know, I guess he's fine enough. Good pitching, average with development and mechanics, good relationships. I guess we'll keep him around for at least 1 year. Hitting coach, though, I don't know if this is Ron Washington's son, but if it is, disgusting behavior, average hitting, just disgusting. He seems to be a better relationship with the pitchers than he is the hitters. This guy is not sticking around here. So Johnny Washington, I don't care if your dad's the coach, even if you are, or if it's just a coincidence, but you are not the hitting coach for us. Bo Porter is fine, former manager. Eric Young Sr., former Rutgers football and baseball star. He can stay. Scout, like I said, not what I prefer, so we're going to get rid of him too. See what we can get in the pool out there. And then our team trainer. I like the legendary prevent back, but we don't really like the average prevent arms, so we are going to fire him as well. And try to find a hitting coach, a scouting director, and team trainer. And I think I'm also going to look at AAA here, because I usually kind of keep these guys for the first season, but I mean, this guy is so bad. He's the pitching coach, and he can't teach pitching, so he's going to get fired. AAA, I mean, it's important, so we need to get rid of these guys. This guy, good hitting, aging. That's average relationships. That's not what we want. So we are going to get rid of this guy as well. And then we'll leave the rest the way it is. But we will try to replace these guys right now. So let's take a look at these hitting coaches in the big leagues, as I have the ratings on a custom view. I did not want them on, but here we go. So teach hitting. Joey DeMonte is the obvious option here, but you know, we could just do that, but it's not as fun. Ben Johnson is solid as well. He's from Wisconsin. We like the Wisconsin guys, so Ben Johnson, we're going to hire him as our major league hitting coach. We'll do 5 years around these parts. And then, I don't know, we'll drop him down, see if we can save some money. We'll give him that offer. And then what else did we need? We had scouting director. Scout amateurs. Scout international. Who do I usually go here? Cool. I feel like I usually go RJ Harrison, because he has the excellent international and amateur and highly favored tools. Yeah, we're going RJ Harrison. He's going to be our scout. We'll offer 5 years and just give him the baseline of what he wants, see what he says to that. Then we can go look at our trainer here. Prevent arms. Yeah, this, I mean, this we're just gonna go basic here. Rick Jamieson, he's the obvious answer. Just give him the baseline of what he wants. We can adjust it if so. And now we can take a look at the AAA level. Pitching coach, coach ratings, pitching. Wes Johnson, Anderson Polanco. Struggles with controlling. I mean, what are his relationships with Salt Lake? Good. What are his relationships? Good. Excellent. Good, good. Good. We'll just go with Polanco. We'll go with Polanco. We'll give him like a 3-year deal with the base, see what he says. Then we can go AAA hitting coach. And we just gave Ben Johnson an offer. DeMonte does not want to be a AAA coach. So I'm thinking we want to go with the young man, Jake Hurst here. Excellent hitting, good, good. I'll take that. Get ourselves a young staff here. We'll go 3 years with the baseline. And that should be all the offers out. Yes, indeed. And before we actually jump into the action here, I do want to go over the lineups. Obviously, we want to take a look at how our team is. And just right away, some things stand out to me. Like, for one, Nolan Shanuel in right field. Not what we want. Not ideal. No. That guy is not a right fielder. He is not going to play right field for us. He is a first baseman. That is not going to cut it. So I think we're just gonna scrap all this. We're gonna clear the lineups. We're not gonna make any call-ups right now, I don't think, but we are gonna do these lineups ourselves. So I'm thinking, like, obviously Ohapi is the catcher. Miguel Sano. That's another thing about this team, is you'll notice that a lot of guys on this team are guys who you're like, oh, I know that guy from another team. They're all on this team. Miguel Sano, veteran, out of the league last year. Now he is on the Angels. Somebody like Brandon Drury, obviously, he was with their team last year too, but journeyman type guy in his 30s. Matt Tice, rather. He's not a veteran, but he is worth noting because he's from New Jersey as well. Went to Virginia. Rendon, contract not great. We'll have to do something with him at some point. Zach Neto's a rookie. Aaron Hicks, there's a guy. I don't know why his salary says 0. I don't know what that is. I checked to see if it was a weird thing, if he's like not on the major league roster or something. Like he's not on the 40-man, so it's not giving him a real deal. But he is. He is indeed on the where is it? Am I just like missing? Yeah, protected on secondary. He's not. So he's on the roster, but he has no salary. So I don't know what the deal is with that. Maybe that's just a glitch in the newest update. I'm playing on the update that just came out this weekend as I'm recording on April 29th. I'm sure you'll see this sometime later. And then before we take a look at the rest of our Major League team here, there's a lot of these guys down in the minors too, like Amir Garrett, Jimmy Hergit, whatever his name is. He's the guy that Pitching Ninja likes to tweet out and be like, oh, this guy's got the nastiest stuff. His ERA is constantly, like, not good. Like he does with every guy. Adam Kolarek, another guy. We already went over Ben Joyce, Caleb Hamilton, journeyman catcher, Chad Wallach, Hunter Dozier, former Royal. Jack Lopez is on this team. Willie Calhoun. We know about Mickey Moniak, Jake Marisnik. Just a lot of guys who probably should not really be in the majors anymore or really on any team. They're in this organization. Alrighty, so we have gone ahead and changed up these lineups to be what I think is our best setup we have right now. I don't usually mess with things, and when I start up a new save, I like to just kind of see the lay of the land, evaluate things, find out who's who in the zoo. But this was just such a mess, I had to do something about this, and I don't even like this roster construction as it is right now either, but we'll see how long this lasts is what I've got rocking right now. We've got somebody like Adrianza, who he's my only backup shortstop, ideally, because He has 60 range, and then it's like the other backups are like Drury, who can't play short. Renhefo can play a little bit of short, but you don't really want him there. And he's not exactly like an ideal player for me, veteran guy. But I mean, it's what we've got here in Anaheim, and he's also not somebody we can like send down. We'd have to cut him if we wanted to get rid of him. Not that that would be a huge deal. He's not getting paid a lot of money, but he is at 3 years or 3 options used, so we can't just like send him down. And he would probably decline his assignment anyway because he does have 9 years of Major League service. But anyways, the right-handed lineup here. This is what we got. Rendon leading off. I know they were rocking that to start this year, and he does have 60 I, so we like to have the I in that top leadoff spot, get on base, set up Mike Trout in the 2-hole, Taylor Ward 3, Nolan Shanuel first, playing first base, hitting fourth. Then we've got O'Hoppe, Hicks in left, Sano at DH, Neto short, and Renhefo at second. And then we've got Drury playing every third game at second base, while also backing up third. And then we have a little bit of a situation here in the outfield where we don't have a fourth outfielder on the roster. Don't really know what they're doing with that strategy, but we're going to try to make it work here. We're going to see how long we do that until we feel like we need to call up Joe Adele, because that's probably the most obvious call up here. But we are going to be rocking a situation where just to get Mike Trout not playing center field every single day, because he is fragile, we don't really want him to be risking himself with injury as much as we want to get him healthy. We want to get him playing more games than this chunk right here. So if we can avoid maybe a little bit of wear in his body by playing him at DH every like once a week, we will attempt to do that, and we are doing that. So every seventh day, Mike Trout is going to play DH, and then Aaron Hicks is going to slot into center field. Brendan Drury is going to slot into left field, and that will be the outfield alignment. As you can see, Hicks, not exactly an ideal center fielder, but once again, it's what we've got. And then you can see the rest of the bench on up there. We get the pinch hitters all set up as well. And if we take a look at the left-handed lineups, a little bit of a difference here. Rendon, Trout, Ward, O'Hoppe in the cleanup spot. Then it's Sano, Hicks, Drury playing second base, Neto, and then Charles LeBlanc playing first base, because Nolan Shanuel, at least ratings-wise for OSA, because I haven't hired a scout yet, or I do have an offer at enough scout, but I can't actually see what my scout thinks of him yet. Not exactly a guy who I really want playing against lefties, whereas Charles LeBlanc here from QC does have pretty decent ratings against lefties, so we're going to rock him in that lefty-righty split platoon with Nolan Shanuel, and see if we can maybe get a little bit of production here at a first base with that. And then Drury plays second while Renhefo backs up, and it's basically the same thing, but, now that Drury's in, it's Renhefo backing up second, third, left, and right. And the still every seventh day DH thing is there for Trout, but it's Renhefo going to left rather than Drury because he is at second. And then the pinch hitters are also a bit different now that Shanuel's on the bench. And, it is against lefties, but, maybe it's something where they bring in a righty out of the pen and he's off the bench to hit. We want him as the number one pinch hitter. And, pinch runners aren't really something I care too much about, but, like, Renhefo has a bit of speed now on the bench against lefties, but again, as righties, LeBlanc, even though he's a first baseman, actually does have a bit of speed, but then, Adrianza, he's just on there to have another role on this team. Not exactly somebody who I'm, like, being like, oh yeah, we should definitely be thrown out there as a pinch runner. And not really. He's just a better option, in like a ninth inning situation than it would be to have like O'Hoppe running, or even then, it's not that big of a difference between him and like him and Rendon, or I guess he has 65 base running, so it really doesn't even matter. Jesus Christ, even Sano's a fine base runner compared to him. I mean, yeah, not ideal for the pinch running situation, but like I said, not the biggest deal. And then if we tab over to the pitching here, this is my first look here at the pitching. I don't know why they have his pitch count set to 105 as the fifth starter. That seems odd to me. The only player from the classic, the 2020 draft that they had, or the 2021 draft. I believe this is the draft where they took 20 pitchers, and the only one who's made it to the big leagues has been Chase Silseth. So that's a little fun fact for you there. Not too bad ratings, honestly. I don't really like Tyler Anderson, veteran. I guess, he's got the track record. He's going to be in there to eat some innings with that 60 stamina. Probably won't put a pitch count limit on him just to ensure that he is eating innings. Patrick Sandoval as a follower? That is interesting. Oops, did not mean to do that. Was that right, or was it Griffin Canning? No, it's definitely Detmer. So it's Detmer, Sandoval, Canning, Anderson, Silseth is what they have set up. I usually like to put pitch counts on my guys, so I think I'm gonna go like 100 for Detmers. I don't know if I like this follower setup they have for Sandoval. I know he's coming off a not great year in the big leagues, but I mean he's a legit arm, I feel like. So I want him to just be pitching, honestly. Like, they have this guy opening. Pretty good opener. You get the righty extreme ground ball guy in there. You get the lefty. Let's roll with it. See how it goes. See maybe if Sandoval benefits from that as we get Soriano as the opener. And then we've got... Or do we want to limit Sandoval here? I'll limit him to... like 95 pitches. Put him on like 95, and then Griffin Canning here. We can put him on like 90 pitches. And then Tyler Anderson, like I said, will not have a limit just to eat some innings. And Chase Silseth will absolutely be on like a 85 pitch limit probably. I do not want to have our fifth starter out there just on just an uncontrolled pitch count. He's the fifth guy. Prove it, and then we can bump up your pitch count. But I mean, I don't mind that 1 through 5. That's a decent 1 through 5. I feel like. Carlos Estevez is the closer. I mean, sure, whatever. It's what we've got. He's got just this year left on his deal. Matt Moore in the setup. I mean, we'll probably just leave the bullpen the way it is. I really doubt anything we change around here is going to change anything too much as far as how we perform wise. But, Soriano seems fine as a middle relief used more often. We get the lefty-righty setup going here in the setup roles. Maybe I change them to both start in the 7th, but, I mean, it's probably fine the way it is. Luis Garcia. I mean, he's throwing 100. Jeez. So we got a lot of hard throwers here in the bullpen. Very interesting. A lot of big dudes too. I mean, geez, we got Plesac here, who's not exactly somebody who you want, but he's there. Long relief, emergency starting pitcher, sure. Adam Simber. I feel like we don't want him long relief with the 25 stamina. He is the submarine ground baller, so I feel like we're going to throw him on middle relief. Middle relief mop-up is what he's going to be on here. And we will rock that as the pitching staff. And that's just what we're going to roll with here to start the season, as we evaluate, see who's who in the zoo, and we will pick things up probably at the draft. Oh, also, before we embark on the season here, I just want to show off the injury list here. Decent amount of guys on here who ideally are on the big league roster, like somebody like Robert Stevenson, who was their main, I guess he was probably their main free agent signing this offseason. I mean, $11 million as a reliever, and he's immediately hurt with shoulder injury. Not what you want. Extreme fly ball, don't like that, but I mean, he is potentially one of our better relievers on the shelf here to start the season. Jose Quijada, I'm assuming how you pronounce that. I know exactly who this is. Just one of those guys who I've seen his name forever, never actually had to say his name out loud. I'm assuming it's Quijada. And lefty, good to have in the bullpen. Looks like he has decent stuff, but once again, on the shelf, 2 to 3 months, recovering from Tommy John. Sam Bachman, shoulder surgery. Love the extreme ground ball. Love the profile on this guy, but out for 7 more weeks. And then Evan White, shout out to the short-lived, it was a pretty long-lived, honestly, OOTP series I did with the Mariners, where he was the Gold Glove first baseman we had, and for 3 months with a gluteus strain. Very interesting, the righty-lefty first baseman. Maybe he gets some run for us at some point. You know, I wouldn't mind rocking him at first base in the platoon if LeBlanc doesn't do well, but we will obviously have to wait 3 months to see that. And then also Michael Stefanich. Decent contact bat, like zero juice in the power-wise. He's only after 2 to 3 weeks, so we won't have to see too much. We don't have to wait too long to see what he's about, but what are his options looking like? He's probably a guy who just goes down to AAA because we don't really have a spot for him right now. And then Jason Martin is, I guess they picked him up from the KBO. Yes. Yeah, I guess they picked him up from the KBO after he came back to the big leagues, because I know who Jason Martin is. I remember him when he was on the Pirates. But, you know, Pop, I can play a little bit of a decent outfield. You know, maybe he's a better center field option than Aaron Hicks is. So maybe he ends up on our Major League roster here. He is making $1 million. We'll see. He has one option year. So we could send him down. We'll probably throw him on like assignment and then see. Maybe he comes up. We will have to see when that time